The goal is to always double down on your tier one clients, get more of them. That's how you're going to grow. If you can double your tier one clients, you will probably grow your business by 30 to 40%. Welcome back to Driving Growth, the go-to-market podcast for traditional B2B businesses that are looking for insights, systems, and techniques to create predictable revenue growth and turn their company into a revenue factory. I'm your host, Steve Whittington, and president of Roadmap, an agency that builds go-to-market systems. Today, we're going to dive into a fundamental topic, something that I believe is the first responsibility, the first duty of all revenue leaders. It's how to determine your ideal customer profile and then map out the personas and the buying committee within that ideal customer profile. Okay, so for B2B businesses, the first duty of understanding your customer, what does that mean, is to determine your ideal customer profile. And if you have a clearly built out ideal customer profile, you will have a description of that company, firmographics like revenue size, lines of business that they're in, industry, maturity of the business. You might even have stuff about their tech stack, a number of sales team members, number of operational staff. You're going to get specific firmographics that align with helping you understand who is the best fit for the service or product that you provide and the problem that you solve for them or the opportunity that you create for them. Now, you also need to know who are the people in the buying committee at that organization. So businesses don't buy from you, people buy from you. And who are the people that are making those decisions? Who is the champion? Who is the user? Who is the influencer? Who is the gatekeeper? That sort of thing. And you're going to need to know those different roles because most B2B, well, in fact, probably almost all B2B sales now involve not just one person, they involve a committee. And you're going to have to know what you're doing for each member of that committee to help advance the sale and how you actually reach them and how you actually market to them. The other thing that you need to clearly understand about your customer is whether you're providing a rational impact or an emotional impact. So generally, if it's a rational impact, you're solving some sort of problem, or if it's an emotional impact, you're getting them excited about an opportunity, just as like a big top level summation. But you want to understand what it is that you're driving and how you relate to those businesses and the people of the buying committee along those types of things, rational or emotional impact. Okay, so if you get this, you get this sorted out, you master this, only then do you have this foundational piece to serve your go-to-market, because you need to know what it is that your customers need and who your best customers are in order to target those folks, in order to speak to those folks, in order to have a proper talking track and market message fit. And that's why this is one of the fundamental pieces of a go-to-market system. Deep, deep, deep customer understanding. Okay, so how do we figure out who our ideal customer is? Now we have to assume that you're an organization that's been selling for a while. You've been in the market for 3, 5, 10 years. You have a bunch of customers. And we do this work with a lot of folks, and we sit down and we talk to them, and they're like, okay, like who is your ideal customer? And they start to describe who they think is their best customer. And what we do is we back up and we say, listen, let's tier your customers. Let's determine your top tier, tier 1, your middle tier, tier 2, and the rest of them is tier 3. Very, very simple. Some people call them ABC customers. But either way, you group your customers into broad groups based on who you're able to sell the most to. So one of the easiest ways to look at it is just revenue levels. And for sake of example, you could say, listen, we've got 100 customers and about 20 of them are over 100,000 per year, and another 30 of them are between 99 and 25,000, and that's going to be tier 2. Tier 1 is over 100,000, tier 2 is under 100,000 but over 25,000, and then tier 3, the rest of them is under 25,000. And how you sort of true that up to say, well, geez, do I have my customers tiered appropriately? Is that your tier 1 and your tier 2 should be about 80%. We've done this a lot, and we find that typically is the case when we get those levels correct. Okay, so we've now made a list of our customers of who our tier 1 and tier 2 clients are and our tier 3 clients are. What you're going to find, and this is what's really fun, is when I do this with organizations, I start to ask them about their tier 3 customers. And I'm like, well, do they use all your products or services? No, they usually just, it's random. They pick one or whatever. They buy every once in a while. Are they a challenge to sell to? Yeah, they're like, they don't see the value prop, or, maybe they don't need all the things. It's kind of like trying to fit something in, like a circle into a square. It's just a tough sell. Okay, well, let's talk about your tier 2s. Well, those ones, they're coming along. They buy a fair amount of products. They're growing up, and a bunch of them are probably going to be the tier 1s. I'm like, yeah, okay. And what about your tier 1s? Great relationships. We have ongoing conversations. Often we're planning things together. We're talking about strategy and future of our businesses, how we can support each other. It's an easy sell. It works really, really well. So that then gives you like a real emotional understanding of who your top customer is. Generally your top customer is not only the ones that buy the most from you, but they're the ones that work the best with you. Okay, whether that's product sales or service sales. So now what you need to do is you need to really, really look at the tier 1 customers, those companies, and what types of companies are they? What industries are they in? What are the firmographics? What is their annual revenue? What is their leadership like? Are they publicly traded? Are they privately owned? Are they partnerships? All that stuff you need to sort of sort through and try to find the commonalities, the common thread through all your tier 1 customers to start to determine who your ideal customer profile is. If you haven't done it yet, do it today. Get your financial system, get a list of accounts, run it over the last 3 years, and you can look at over 3 years who your top accounts are. You can even run an average. It's an easy exercise to do. And unless you've got thousands and thousands of customers, most of the folks that we deal with are in the hundreds. This can be an exercise that you can tidy up in a couple hours and have a good understanding of how your different clients are tiered. And so when you've done that, now you can really start to sit down and work with your sales team, work with your delivery folks, and have a really good discussion. And why this is important is that if you're going to grow, you need to know who to target. And so you're going to make a target account list of those top tiered customers, those lookalike customers. You're going to market to lookalike customers because you want to attract the best fit for you, the ones that you serve the best. The goal is to always double down on your tier 1 clients. Get more of them. That's how you're going to grow. If you can double your tier 1 clients, you will probably grow your business by 30 to 40%. I want to back up a little bit about the ICP. So we've talked about firmographics, right? Which industry, company size, geographic location. I don't think I mentioned that. That's important. Business maturity, startup, mid-market, enterprise, buying patterns. Do they outsource? Do they handle things in-house? That sort of stuff. I didn't really mention there's some behavioral and psychographic traits, right? So that's where it's like you really need to understand their biggest challenges or pain points, why they're motivated to buy, like what makes them want to buy if they're really opportunity focused. Well, this is a great opportunity, so we're really opportunity, or more maybe they're risk adverse. They're playing defense. So they need to know that kind of stuff. And I mentioned like getting to know their tech stack and that sort of stuff, and really knowing kind of like their purchase decision cycles. Like, okay, like I deal with clients. Well, we go to the next board meeting. Like certainly if it's a NGO nonprofit, everything gets pushed to the cycle of board meetings. And so you want to know like what happens. A lot of times it gets pushed to the cycle of the leadership team meetings, which can be once a month. So you want to know those various different purchase cycles. And then like you also like with your ICP, you want to know like their selection criteria. Is it budget? Is it like, listen, it has to meet this budget, and that's weighted the heaviest. Is there like, they need to see ROI, so financial viability with your product or service, or is it that they're in pain? They got a problem that needs to be solved. The pain is so great that they will pay anything to solve it, right? And then knowing that, you want to also understand why they keep repeating purchases from you. Certainly, if it's products that they're repeating from you, we understand what drives that demand of repeat purchases. Of services, how do you get retained? How do you keep them? How do you keep, selling more services to them? And then, lastly, that's really, really important. People forget about this. Is does their buying patterns meet your sales cycle? Like if you need things to be able to close in 30 days and their buying pattern is 45 days or 90 days, well, there's a bit of a disconnect, and that might not be your ICP, or you're going to have to reset how you do your projections. So you got to understand all that stuff, and that really allows you to really laser focus, as I said, double down on your ICP to get more of them and target only the companies that are the best fit for you for growth. So we've talked about the company. Now you need to talk about the people within the company, because companies don't buy from you, people buy from you. And you'll have multiple stakeholders. And as I said, you're going to need to understand their various different motivations and pain points. And they're going to have different, each of these people in the buying committee are going to have different kind of pain points and motivations, right? So when you really think about it, there's going to be the budget holder or the economic buyer, right? They tend to be CFO, CEO, VP of Ops, that sort of thing. They own the budget, right? They approve the purchase, and their pain points are generally around, they're always going to have to think about cost and ROI justification. So they're going to be more rational, as opposed to necessarily emotional, right? They care about the business impact. They care about financial efficiency, that sort of stuff. And this is just very, very general, but you want to think about these different roles in your buying committee, or the different key personas in your buying committee. You're always going to have a champion, somebody that's like loves what you're doing. They tend to be the one that's going to be benefiting from your product or services, so they're advocating for it. That's why they're the champion. Their pain point is how fast can we make this happen to relieve my pain? And they want productivity gains. They want usability. They want additional team usage. They want opportunity. There are the more emotional, side of things as to why they're actually pushing your product or service. You're going to have influencers, people that are going to just have weight in an organization, right? That can be IT, that can be procurement, can be compliance, it can be HR sometimes, depending on what your product or service is, right? So they evaluate security, integration, risk, conformity to procedures, that sort of thing. They care about the complexity of the implementation or the product. They care about how it's going to impact the culture, that sort of stuff, right? So it's about them. It's rational. It's compliance. It's scalability. It's integration. That sort of stuff. And so that's going to be somebody that you have to think about within an organization. And then of course you got the very, very end user, which can be the champion at the same time, right? But they work with your product or service daily. They get the impact from it. And so they're concerned about, well, how's this going to affect my job? So certainly if you're someone that's, an integrator of CRMs, they're going to be worried about, well, how's that going to affect my day-to-day? How much more workload am I going to have? How much training am I going to get? That sort of thing, right? And so, they care about how easy this is going to be, how much support they're going to get, how much it's going to solve problems for them, and that's the impact they have. And those are kind of the main kind of personas that you have within it. And you want to make sure that your sales talking track and your market messaging all speaks to those different people within an organization, which is where, account-based marketing comes in. And you sort of have it tailored so that your messaging can meet their rational and emotional impacts, and get their pain points and concerns solved for. Okay, so we've kind of gone through 3 steps. First, we've tiered your existing customers to help you identify who your ICP is. Then we've actually built out the ideal customer profile. And now we've talked about building personas within that ICP so you can understand the people that you're selling to. Now, the interesting thing is This is all from, it's your first party data. So it's your data in your company that's helping you this. But it's kind of like if you're a leader doing this by yourself, or maybe you've got a committee that's helping you do it, it's a market of one or maybe even a market of 3 or 4, depending on how big the committee is. So you're building hypothesis ICPs and a hypothesis personas based off of your data, which is a really valid point, but it's also based off of what you think or feel. So the truth of it is that how do you validate that this is true? That this is the pain points, this is the challenge, this is the opportunities that those people within your ideal client profile actually, need or want or desire, right? How do you validate that? Okay, so first thing is you can look at your sales pipeline. You can analyze, past wins and losses, okay? And you can look at game tape, like if you record, most things are recorded nowadays on Zoom, or even phone calls are recorded, right? You can look at game tape, which I've always loved doing, and you can look at why you lost, why you won, and you can have discussions, and you can learn about that. So that will help refine that ICP and actually validate some of these rational, emotional things that you're meeting or missing, right? So that's one thing, right? Do that. The other thing is talk to your customers, interview them, ask them point blank, what was the biggest pain points that we solved for you? Or what was the biggest gains that you got from working from us? Or what is the opportunity our product provides for you? Like, go out and talk and spend time with your customers in a formal, structured way, so you can bring all that quantitative data, and then you can qualitate it with results. Like 50% of our customers said this, or 75% said this, right? But spend the time interviewing it. And what I do is that I don't interview my own customers. I think that's a big no-no, because I will have a filter that I will see and hear what I want to hear, and I'll have that bias. So even though that's what we do when we help build go-to-market systems, is we do customer research for our clients, we make sure that we take our own medicine and we hire other folks to do our customer research so it's unbiased, so we can really, really hear what it is that our customers are saying. So the other thing you can do is you can track like engagement data. Which ones of these various different personas are the ones that you deal with the most? Do you actually deal with the economic buyer up front, or is it end? Is it the champion that you're dealing with all the time? Or maybe that person that you thought was a champion really isn't, because they come in, they sort of get things going, and they leave. So you want to look at, and your CRM will tell you that, and you'll have that in there, and you'll sort of have a good idea of the various different engagement data that you have. And then for when you're actually, say, selling the product or doing the delivery of the service, you can see, who the end users are. You can really validate that with those personas in your CRM as to who's doing what, right? Another thing that we like to do for ourselves and for our clients is, every year or 2 years, get a customer council together. And you could get a customer council on your various tiers. Get your tier 1 folks together. Get your tier 2 folks together. You can learn how you actually can grow up tier 2s to tier 1s, or mix them up so people can see how to become a tier 1. But either way, you get this. It gives you ongoing insights, and again, it helps validate. And then you get a group of folks that will actually share ideas to give you more insights as to what you can do better to serve them, and really tell them like, hey, well, this is the pain point we felt, and yeah, us too. So you get that validation. And so it's another tool to use on top of interviewing your customers. And then the last thing this takes a lot of analysis, but also you'll get that from interviewing, yet you'll get that from the customer council, is you need to know the key moments that matter. Those moments of magic in your buyer and customer journey, and understand that we build funnels that are sellers' funnels. You should be building a funnel that's a buyer's journey. You need to be thinking that way. What triggers them to actually search for your solution? How did they feel in your discovery call, which was them explaining their needs? So understand the buyer's journey and ask your customers about said buyer's journey, and that will give you further insight as to how you can reach your ICPs and reach the people within your ICPs. Okay, so four big steps there, right? Just to recap: identify who your top customers are by tiering them, build your ICP, build the personas, and then, take that hypothesis set and validate it with research, be it interviews, looking at your engagement data, having a customer council, and then trying to actually map your seller's journey as a buyer's journey, like a true customer's journey. And you do all that, you will get really, really, really deep insights about your customers, which leads you to the final step. What are you going to do with all this? Now that you've got it all done, well, you now know who your ICP is, so you can create a very, very detailed and targeted and niche target account list. Okay? And that you can understand, really clearly what your total addressable market is, right? Which is great. You can say, geez, I can market to like 45,000 customers. Okay, great. What is the total realizable market of that TAM? Okay, so you've got that ICP, you've got a total addressable market, so you can see the market size. This is important stuff if you need to actually go get funding or you're thinking about expansion and all that kind of stuff to know what the total addressable market is. But as important is when you look out 90 days or even for the 12 months is to understand what the total realizable market is that you can reach with that ICP. You now have all this information, you should be able to improve. Like if you're not, like you've done all this stuff to learn about your customers, for gosh sakes, listen to them and improve your product market fit. Okay? Make your services, make your products better at solving the problem for your customers or giving them opportunity. So you have a target account list with total realizable market. You've improved your product market fit. You've got market message fit. And now you can create a sales and marketing blueprint that aligns all your teams along this single strategy to actually implement your go-to-market system. And remember, understanding your customer. Customers change, your products change, the market changes, all this kind of stuff. It's a mountain with no top. In the last 4 years, I have paid twice for outside people to review and evaluate our customers and interview our customers, and we've had 3 customer councils in 4 years. It is a constant thing that we are doing to understand our customers more effectively because our customers evolve, our products evolve, the market changes. That's like the most important thing is that this should be a top priority. It is the first duty of revenue leaders to truly understand their customers. Okay, that's it for today's episode. I hope you found it helpful. I hope you found it insightful. I hope it gave you confidence to go out and understand who your ICP is and then build your go-to-market system around it. You can go to weareroadmap.com/podcast to download the complete Revenue Factory Toolkit, which you receive a presentation which has all this information and the mathematical frameworks for building your go-to-market system. Also subscribe to the show wherever you get the podcast and leave a review. We have new episodes dropping the first and the third Wednesday of every month. I'm Steve Whittington. Thanks for listening. Keep building your revenue factory one brick at a time.